And good morning, everybody, and welcome in and welcome aboard. This is WBRT's segment here by McCoy, Houston, and Smith, attorneys at law. And, well, we just, some days you're lucky, some days you aren't. Today, we lucked out in getting you in here.
Worked out well. Yeah. It was one of those crazy, all of a sudden my schedule opened up, so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And for the listening audience on radio, you was Chad McCoy of McCoy, Houston, and Smith.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Very quickly, a little disclaimer.
Yes, sir.
We get there.
So, we can't give legal advice over the air, and you certainly wouldn't want us to if it was private and confidential, but we are happy to talk to you and answer questions of a general nature here this morning. And if you do have a question, feel free to call in at 502-348-2222. You can also text us to that same number, 502-348-2222, and we'd be glad to talk to you.
We'll keep our eye on the phone and the computer that has the text on it. Chad, the word of the day is two words, actually. Stacking coverage.
Stacking coverage.
Okay. I'm going to go, it's in the insurance world.
There you go.
Okay.
So
coverage is on that.
That's right. And this is one of the reasons why we encourage folks, even if it's not our law firm, if you've been injured, especially in an automobile accident, I encourage you to get to an attorney as soon as possible. And the reason is, you may not know it, but you may have stacking coverage. So stacking coverage is a policy. It's a way to get more insurance bang for your buck, so to speak. So let's say you have 3 vehicles.
Okay.
And you have purchased the uninsured or underinsured coverage. Remember, that's optional coverage that's going to apply to you and your family if you're in a wreck and the at-fault person doesn't have enough or doesn't have any insurance to cover your damages. Depending upon how you pay for it, it may be that you have purchased 3 separate policies, one for each of your cars, and let's say they were for $100,000 each. Well, we may be able to stack them so that now you get $300,000 rather than just $100,000.
But only one vehicle in the
accident. You got it. And it really depends on how did you pay for it, how was it quoted, because this kind of coverage follows the person, not the car. Mm-hmm. And so it could be like having 3 different life insurance policies, for example.
They should pay.
Yeah, they should pay. So that's stacking coverage. Another similar concept that comes up, and we've talked about this before, is with PIP. Remember the personal injury protection, which is money available for you and the occupants of your vehicle to cover their medical bills, their lost wages, and now subrogation as well. With PIP, you can purchase additional coverage. So it kind of stacks on there as well, but a little different concept. Stacking coverage is generally the uninsured or underinsured coverage.
Okay. So 2 vehicles, which is pretty common this day and age. But if you get 3, you can. The policies, you say, will kind of determine.
It will. How the policies were priced, how they read, and that's where you've got to get it to a lawyer. Let us look at it, and we'll be able to help you make those arguments if this was stacked coverage or not.
Okay. And all good.
All good. That's right. That's right.
But it wouldn't be pointed out to you more than likely if you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say get there early, because, sometimes the insurance company will make you an offer fairly quickly out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And it may be that it's too early for you to really know what is your medical future going to be. Is that sore neck going to just be a sore neck for a while, or is it going to be a surgery? And you don't want to jump in there too early. You don't want to take too little. That's where having an attorney can help you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned PIP just a few minutes ago.
Yes, sir.
You say there is a possibility.
So there's some things happening in Kentucky with PIP, and not every state, Roth, has PIP. That is, Kentucky and Florida have it for sure. There are a few other states. Some have something similar where they just give you a little bit towards medical bills. But the way PIP works, and again, this is from a law that I think was 1972, 78, somewhere. It's been a while since it's been in place. And what we decided to do with PIP was say, rather than have everybody sue in every car wreck, we're going to set aside a little money to cover the occupants of the vehicle. And if your medical bills are small, then you don't even get the right to sue. You've got to have more than $1,000 in medical bills. And we'll have this PIP pay for those medical bills. So it may be that almost a no harm, no foul kind of situation to hopefully cut down on litigation, I think was the initial thought there. But what we said in this PIP law was, if you are in a wreck, regardless of who's at fault, we're going to presume. Now that's always a magic word under the law. When there's a presumption of something, it kind of changes who has the burden to fight about it. Okay? So we're going to presume that all the medical bills are reasonable. And what that ends up meaning is both the treatment you got was reasonable and the price tag you paid for it was reasonable. Now, well-intentioned thoughts here, but we may have created an opportunity for some people who are not being on the up and up to take advantage of the system. So let me give you a very silly example. Let's say you hurt your pinky finger in the wreck, and you go to a doctor who says, well, I think the best thing for your pinky finger will be foot massages. And we do them here in my office, and they're $4,000, and you're going to need 3 of them. The law says we're going to presume that all of that was reasonable just because it was in a wreck. So over the years, we've made some tweaks to that law where an insurance company might be able to say, wait a minute, we want an independent doctor to come in and look at what's going on there. And what's happened now, and you've probably seen these folks on TV, and they're the folks that give my industry a bad name and make people hate us lawyers, even though the folks that are doing these commercials aren't necessarily attorneys. But what's happening is there's advertisements for, if you've been in a wreck, 1-800-CALL somebody, and you go there, and it's a group of providers. Maybe it's a doctor. Maybe it's a chiropractor. Yeah, it's medical.
In many cases.
Many cases.
Kind of giving the good one in that category.
That's right. And so what they do is they get you in the door and almost instantly run you through treatments that cost $10,000, which is the amount of PIP. So, especially in Louisville. Now, this is really not an issue here in Nelson County. We are very fortunate. All the chiropractors in town are good folks. All the doctors are good folks. The hospitals are good folks. Nobody's gaming the system. But in our bigger cities, especially Louisville, and what we've noticed is it's groups coming from Florida, another PIP state. So they've figured out a business model that seems to work, and they don't have the ethical rules that attorneys have. And so they've moved up to Louisville, and now they are just costing our insurance carriers really a ton of money. The other thing that happens, and this is nobody playing games or not being on the up and up. If you were to walk into the doctor's office and request an MRI, for example, and you had no insurance and you were just going to pay cash, the for cash price of an MRI might be $5,000. If you walk in and you've got, let's say, Anthem Health Insurance, the health insurance price, may only be $3,000. Well, it's the same service. Why is it a different price? Well, the reason it's a different price has to do with Medicare and Medicaid and how they price things and what doctors are allowed to charge and how it's a percentage of the retail. But the retail price is $5,000. The insurance company gets a break because they've negotiated that break. They've come in and said, hey, we'll send all of our patients to you if you agree to charge us a lesser fee. With PIP, you pay the cash price, which is higher. So again, even when everybody's acting on the up and up, because the law hasn't been changed since 1970 whatever, $10,000 back then was the equivalent of about $55,000 now. And so we're burning through it really quickly. So given those two things, the sort of fraud that's happening in some areas, along with the retail pricing that's occurring just because of the nature of the beast. There's a movement now to look at possibly changing up PIP to see if there's something we can do to tackle both of those issues.